इन्नल हम्दुलिल्लाह नहमदुहु व नस्तईनुहु व नस्तगफिरुहु व नअऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिन शुरूरि अनफुसिना व मिन सय्यिआति अमालिना मन यहदिहिल्लाहु फला मुज़िल्ल लहु व मन युज़लिलहु फला हादिय लहु व अशहदु अन ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाहु वहदहु ला शरीका लहु व अशहदु अन्न मुहम्मदन अब्दुहु व रसूलुहु अम्मा बाद फ़इन्न खैरल हदीसी किताबुल्लाह व खैरल हदी हदी मुहम्मदिन सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम व शर्रल उमूरि मुहदसातुहा व कुल्ल मुहदसतिन बिदअ व कुल्ल बिदअतिन ज़लाला व कुल्ल ज़लालतिन फिन्नार। अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम। बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। रब्बिश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली। Alhamdulillah, by the grace of God, today we are going to start learn the language of the Quran, that is Arabic for English speakers. Previously, I have Alhamdulillah already recorded the lectures to learn the language of the Quran, that is Arabic in Urdu and Hindi languages. For the speakers, those who know Hindi and English and Urdu, they may go our YouTube channel and search my videos there. Now from today onwards we are going to start to learn Arabic language in English language. Without wasting any time, let us discuss what is Arabic grammar is. Arabic grammar consists of two parts. Arabic grammar consists of two parts. One is sarf, knowledge of sarf, and other part is knowledge of nahw. One part is knowledge of sarf and other part is knowledge of nahw. I write here in Arabic, we write with swad ra fa sarf and nahw. These two parts constitute Arabic grammar. Now let us discuss each one. What is sarf and the definition of knowledge of sarf. Sarf is a science in which we learn to make a new words with the help of a root letters. What is sarf? Sarf is a science in which we get the knowledge how to create new words with the help of a root letters. To understand it more clearly, let us take an example. Suppose I have root letters kaf, ta and ba. These are our root letters and we are try to make some meaningful words with the help of these root letters. What I made it kitabun. Meaning of kitabun is book, a book. And suppose I made with the same root letters another new word kataba. Kataba meaning he wrote. He wrote. Suppose I want another word with the help of the same root letters kaf taba is yak tubu. Yak tubu meaning he writes or he will write. One more word I will make with the help of these three root letters is katib. Katibun. A person who writes. A person who writes. So how we are able to make new words with the help of these root letters? With the knowledge of sarf. In sarf we learn how to make a new words with the help of root letters. Inshallah, in detail we will discuss the method how to create meaningful words. Now move towards the next part of Arabic grammar, that is Nahw, knowledge of Nahw. In knowledge of Nahw, we learn Whenever we made new words, next task is to arrange these new words in a sentence. Arrange these new words in a sentence. This we learn by the knowledge of Nahu. Knowledge of Nahu teaches us how to arrange the words in a sentence. Is it clear? Again I will repeat, knowledge of Nahu teaches us how to arrange new words in a sentence. And one more thing, what type of sound we must give in to the last letter. Here you see kitabun. One more word, kitaban, is also there. Kitabin is also there. In a similar manner, kataba, ba. Focus on the last sound of the last letter. Ba, bun, ban, bin. Yaktubu, bu. Katibun. Katiban is also a word. Katibin is also a word. So knowledge of Nahu teaches us which type of words we must put in the sentence. So these two make Arabic grammar. I think you understand it clearly. I again repeat, knowledge of Sarf teaches us how to make new words with the help of the root letters, and knowledge of Nahu teaches us how to arrange these words in a sentence. And one more thing, that is the sound of the last letters, which type of sounds we must give in to the letter, means bun, ban, bin. Bun, ban, bin. Is it clear? So this is the definition of kitab. This is the definition of knowledge of Sarf and knowledge of Nahu. In any language, the basic is its letters. So in Arabic, let us discuss about the letters. In English language, these letters are called alphabets from A to Z. And how many alphabets are there in English language? Yes, 26. Now moving towards the Arabic alphabets, I write here Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, Jim, Ha, Kha, Dal, Zal, Ra, Za, Sin, Sheen, Sad, Dad, Ta, Wa, Ain, Ghain, Fa, Qaf, Kaf, Lam, Mim, Noon, Ha, Waw, and Ya. The letters of English is called alphabets, and the letters of Arabic is called huruful hija. I write it in English, huruful hija. These are the huruful hija of Arabic, means the letters of Arabic. And one more thing in Arabic language is harakat. Harakat. There are three types of harakat present in Arabic language, that is symbol like a slant line, and it always appears on the top of the letters. This is called fatha. Fatha. Another symbol, slant line, always appears below the letter. This is called kasra. Kasra. And another symbol, this is the symbol, and always appears on the top of the letter. This is called dhamma. Dhamma. So these three called harakate thalatha. Harakate thalatha. Harakate thalatha. Another symbol in Arabic is used, this symbol. This is called jazm. Jazm. And sometime whenever we open the Quran, we find there are double harakat, means double fatha, double kasra and double dhamma. What is this? This is called tanween. Tanween, what is tanween? Tanween is a double harakat, whether it is a harakat of fatha, kasra or dhamma. Tanween. Tanween. Now moving forward, whenever these alphabets are joined or mixed with the harakat or with these symbols, then words are formed. Again I repeat, whenever these alphabets are mixed or joined with these symbols like harakat, tanween and jazm, a word is formed. Okay, is it clear? So I write it here. Letters plus harakat make words, and that words may have some meaning or without meaning, meaningful or meaningless. A word having some meaning in Arabic language, it is called kalima. Again I repeat, this is the most important part of Arabic language. You must learn this definition. What is kalima? Word having meaning is known as kalima. Word having meaning is known as kalima. Is it clear? Again I repeat, words having meaning is known as kalima, and words which are meaningless, which doesn't have any meaning, are known as muhmal. Muhmal. We are here to learn the language of the Quran, that is Arabic, to understand Quran and Hadith. So we are dealing only with kalima, because in Quran and Hadith there is not a single word which is meaningless. All the words are meaningful. That is why I am saying we are here to deal only with kalima. So we further process to the kalima. Again I repeat the definition of the kalima. What is the kalima? Words having certain meaning, words having meaning in Arabic is known as kalima. Is it clear? Now let us discuss one very important thing, that is how many huruful hija are present in Arabic, means how many letters are present in Arabic letters. I write it here in 4 rows, and in each row I write 7 letters. So 7 into 4 makes 28. Easy calculation, 7 into 4 makes 28. But there is a difference of opinion regarding the numbers of letters in Arabic. Some say that there are 29 letters. So if 29 letters are present, then why I write here 28? This question arises. But this is a very small difference of opinion. You may understand when I tell you about the difference between alif and hamza. Why these difference came? Because of the difference of alif and hamza. Make it very clear on a very first day. What is alif? Alif is free from all types of harakat and jazm. Alif is free from all type of harakat and jazm, and if we place any harakat or jazm on alif, it becomes hamza. This is the definition of alif and hamza. What is the definition of alif and hamza? Hamza possesses harakat or jazm, and alif is free from all type of harakat and jazm. If we place any harakat or jazm on alif, then it will become hamza. Is it clear? Is it clear? That's why the difference of opinion came. Those who count alif and hamza as a single letter, they counted it as 28. Those who consider no, we count it as a separate, alif as a separate letter and hamza as a separate letter, then their counting came 29. Now the solution is there. Now the difference is clear. Okay. So again I repeat the difference between the alif and hamza. Alif is always free from all type of harakat and the jazm, and if we place any harakat and jazm on alif, it becomes hamza. Now let us understand with the help of the example. I have told these letters, when we mix with these letter harakat or we place any harakat on the letters, then combined form becomes words. Now I write certain words here. I have a letter kaf, ta, I place alif and ba. Now I gave certain harakat to some letter. I gave kasra this here, fatha there, and tanween of dhamma there. In a combined form, what it become? Kitabun. Kitabun. The meaning of kitabun is a book. So it is a word. In this word, whether this thing is alif or hamza. To answer this, go to the definition of alif. Alif is free from all type of harakat and jazm, and here we find that there is no harakat on this and not any jazm on this. Then we say that this is alif. So in this word, this is alif. Now I have another word. I place a kasra there. I place a jazm there. I place fatha, I make free, and tanween. Now in a combined form, what it is written? Insanun. Insanun, meaning a human being. Now my question is, there are two alif or two hamza, or one alif or one hamza. You have to give the answer. First one is alif or hamza. Go to the definition. Alif is free from all type of harakat and jazm. But here we see kasra is present, means harakat is present. So we cannot declare it alif. What we say? It is hamza. This is hamza and this is alif. This is hamza and this is alif. Why this is alif? Because it is free from all type of harakat and jazm, and it possesses kasra. So is it clear now the difference of alif and hamza? Now moving further, we are talking about the kalima. I erase now huruful hija. We are talking about kalima. Kalima is a meaningful words. What the grammarian of any language do? They groups the words which are used in the speech, and these groupings is called parts of speech. You people are knowledgeable people, understanding English very well. If I ask how many parts of speech in English, I think you all are give answer very quickly. How many parts of speech? Yes, 8 parts of speech. I write it here. 8 parts of speech. Number 1 is noun. Second is pronoun. Third is verb. Fourth is adverb. Fifth is conjunction or adjective. Sixth is conjunction. And seventh is preposition. And eighth is interjection. These 8 are parts of speech. What English grammarian do? They search for the words which are used in English language and place it in a group. Is it clear? And it is very interesting thing that first language came and after then grammar will make to understand that language to others. Non-regional person can able to understand the language. That's why grammarian they arrange the words which are used in our daily life and make it as a parts of speech. In a similar manner, Arabic grammarian also do the same thing. But they are not arranging their words in 8 parts. they are arranged their words in three parts. What I mean, say parts of kalima, that is parts of speech. There are three parts of kalima, parts of speech. What are these? I write it here. Kalima. Kalima or meaningful words. You understand it? It has three parts. One is ism, another is fail, and the last is harf. Okay. In English, we may call ism as a noun, but it is not the 100% correct translation of ism. But for our understanding, let us write ism, noun, fail, verb, and harf, we may say articles. So these three parts of speech are present in Arabic grammar. Okay. So kalima is divided into how many parts? Three parts: ism, fail, harf. Now let us discuss one by one. First, discuss about ism. What is ism? Ism is independently used and can be able to express their meaning. Ism can independently use without the help of harf and verb and fail. And second important part, ism does not contain any tenses. Whenever we talk about the ism, we doesn't tell about the happening of that ism when it will occur, means in past, present, future. Ism doesn't talk about past, present, future. They are independent of tenses. Is it clear? Now I will give you the definition of ism. First, let us discuss about the definition of noun. In English, noun is a name of a person, place and thing. This is the definition we all read in class 1, 2, 3. Now, in the definition of ism is a name of a person, place, thing. Quality is also ism, qualities, and the name of the work. Name of the work. This is very important. You may be astonished. Name of the work is a ism? Yes, name of the work is a ism, but whenever we are using ism, we are not talking about the tenses. We are not talking about the past, present, future. We just tell the name of the work. Now let us give one example of each type. Ism is a name of a person. I write it Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muhammad. Muhammad is the name of a person. Ism is the name of a person, place. I write a Makkah. Makkah is the name of a place. Thing, I write qalam, means pen. Thing. Quality, I write salih, good. Quality. And one more thing, that is quality may be good or bad. Means if I write it kabih, meaning opposite of salih is kabih, that is bad. Bad also comes under this quality. Okay. And the third part, fifth part, that is very important, the name of the work. Name of the work. I write it here zarbun. Zarbun means to hit. Zarbun, to hit. Now when I say zarbun, I am not talking about the tenses. When this hitting phenomena, when this hitting process is occur, whether it is occur in past, present or future. So this is the basic difference between ism and fail. Fail always talk about the past, present and future. Fails always talk about the tenses. Now moving to the next part of speech, part of kalima, that is fail. What is fail? First discuss about what is verb in English. Doing or saying words are known as verb. This is the definition of verb. But in Arabic grammar, the definition of fail is the words which shows certain actions together with the tenses. The words which shows certain actions together with the tenses. This statement is very important. Write it in with different color, or underline this, or make it in a bold letters. What is together with the tenses? Tenses is necessary for fail. Means whenever we are talking about the fail, we know that certain actions occur, certain works done, but also with it when that work, when that action will happen, whether that action happen in past, present and future. This will be able to know with the help of fail. I will give you the example. Suppose I write it here, Zaraba. Zaraba. The meaning of Zaraba is he hit. Now this statement, this sentence, make it clear the process of hitting occurring in past. Somebody that is he hit someone in past. Is it clear? Zaraba means he hit. When we say Zaraba, we are able to understand the action of the work occurs in past. That's why I say in the definition, fail is a word which tells about the actions together with the tenses. I will give you the second example. If I write yadribu, the meaning of yadribu is he hits. He hits means present time he hits someone. And also the meaning of yadribu is he will hit. Means in future that person, he will hit. So fail, the complete definition of fail is a word which tells about the actions together with the tenses. And in any language, tenses are of three types: past, present, future. Past, present, future. Whether it is in Arabic, whether it is in Hindi, Urdu, English, any language, tenses always are of three types: past, present, future. Is it clear? Now moving to the third parts of the speech, third part of kalma, that is harf. Harf alone didn't give any meaning like ism and fail. Ism and fail able to give their meaning when they use alone, but harf needs either ism or fail to express their meaning. Is it clear? I've given one example of harf. If I write min, it is harf. Meaning of min is from. From. If I say 10 times min, do you able to understand what I want to say? No. Until and unless I join some ism or fail with this harf min, then you may be able to understand what I want to say. Another example of harf is ila. Ila. Ila means to. To. Another example of harf is ala. Ala means over or upon. So is it clear to all of you what is harf? Harf alone didn't give the meaning completely, didn't make sense completely until and unless it is joined either with the ism or with fa'il. Clear? If I say 5 times, 10 times, 15 times min, ila, ala, what does it mean? What does it make? Is it make any sense? No. You people are not able to understand what I want to say. When I join this min, ila, ala with ism or fail, then you will be able to understand. Suppose I say minal masjidi ilal baiti, from mosque to home. From mosque to home. then you will be able to understand, oh, you want to say you are going from mosque to your home. So what I did, I attached this harf with ism to express myself. So these three parts are the parts of kalima, or in other words we may say these are the parts of speech. So in Arabic grammar there are only three parts of speech: ism, fail and harf. Ism, fail and harf. And one more interesting thing is that whenever we open the Mus'haf, means the Quran, we found only these three things. Either the word written in the Mus'haf is ism or fail or harf. So to understand the Quran, we need just three things: ism, fail, harf, ism, fail, harf, ism, fail, harf. And inshallah, by the grace of God, we will be able to learn these three in detail. From further lectures, we will discuss one by one what is ism and the types of ism and the things related with the ism in further lectures. And also in further lectures, we will discuss about the fail and harf, inshallah. So your duty is to make the notes and try to revise it, so that whenever we meet in a second lecture, you will be able to understand more clearly. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.